Hello guys, today we're going to go over the KPad shopping cart, how to install it or make sure it's installed, how to configure it, and then how to use it. The first thing we're going to do is you're going to find an email that I'm going to send out that will have links to the instructions and the file on the Google Drive. This first link here will be the link we'll click on to take us to the folder. From here we can see the two files, the instructions, and then the actual file for CDK that interfaces the two systems. What we want to do first is make sure that that is on your computer. The PFW EPC file is installed and up and running. The first thing we can do to check that is go down here to your taskbar and see what's running, and you might have one of these icons. If you'll hover over it, you'll see PFW Kubota Pad EPC interface. If you have that, you're good, and we can proceed through the settings from there. But let's assume that you don't, just to make sure we get everybody covered. Another way to double check, because it could be that it's just not running, is if you go to your start bar. If you have Windows 10, you don't have to have the search field. You can just start typing. If you'll type in EPC, you'll see this link here for PFW EPC, and that gets it running. It gave an error because I already had it running. But if we were to close it out, then we type this in, click it, then it would start running in the background. And there it is. Now, if you don't have it on your computer, the download file is located here so that you can install it. To do this, you can just right click on this folder file. You can click download. It's going to download here to your computer. We can open it up. I have it installed, so it's asking me if I want to repair or remove mine. You're just going to have it install. You'll just click through that and install it. Once that's done, it's going to ask if you want to restart. Go ahead and do your restart. Bring it back up. Once you've restarted, we'll need to go in, if it's a fresh install, or if you want to go through this just to check your settings, we'll go through and update these settings here so that it will be configured correctly. To know how to do that, we have these instructions here. You can just double click on this and it will open up in Google Docs. We can go through these instructions here to see exactly what we're doing. So once you have this open, the instructions, go down here to your task manager, right click on that icon and open up the settings. See the same picture here. You might notice this icon here. When we click on this to scroll down, that's going to go behind, so you'll click to bring that back up. But we basically just want to replicate what we see here in the pictures and follow these instructions. So in this first box here, we're going to fill this in with 8051. We can leave the second part in this box left alone. We can scroll down here and see what we need to put in these settings here. So we'll go through, and you can copy and paste these into this from this document. If you wanted. and go down through this, fill in these pieces here. On branch, this is what will be specific to the store you're at. So just like at CDK, 01 is Ada, 02 is Duncan. You'll want to do that. That will be important to have this filled in correctly, the branch. This will go on to the next screen here, and what we're going to want to do is click this top box is all you're really going to want to have clicked. I have this selected for me for testing purposes, but all you're going to want to check is this top box. And then the last tab, you're going to click in here in this vendor. And you're going to type in KUB in capital letters. And then you can hit OK. And that's all outlined in this document here. Once we get past that, then we can move on to the next part. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to Kubota, log in, and we're going to go to parts and to Kubota pad. We're going to look up a tractor to test this. It can be any tractor. And we're going to pull up the document. From here, we want to go to configuration and basket connection configuration. And this is what we will mimic the settings for when we're looking at this document here. This is what this screen is, what this is talking about here. So there's basically a couple of things we're going to be looking at. We're going to want to first make sure we want to enable the connection with the dealer. And so you'll put in for your specific store what your user is. And then enable this connection here and fill in these same numbers here and here. Make sure both of these boxes are checked here and here. This local needs to be unchecked, and then we'll save and close it. Once you do that, you can go to any of the parts diagrams, check on a couple of the parts, and this will be a way to test. Now, once you've selected this and you've configured these settings, it's always good to first go ahead and close it out. That way the settings reset kind of from the beginning, and it lets it kind of sync up a little bit better. I've seen some errors happen if you don't. So we've set it up. We'll go here, check on a couple boxes up here at the shopping cart. This is where we'll test. You'll see a pop-up come open where it's communicating. And then here we go. This gives you a lot of information here. So you can see these parts we've never had before, what we have available here actually at the store. Kubota's communication for where it's at in their distribution network, pricing. And so from here, part of our process for the mechanics are going to be for them to be able to go into this part, and they're going to print this basket. They're going to print that, and they're also going to place the order. And they're going to be working on a specific work order. That's how they're going to. That's always going to be the naming convention. Is they're going to top in work order, whatever it is, the work order that they're working on, 35, 43, whatever that is. For this test, we're just going to say test Alex. That way we can find that in our list. So we'll save that, and that gets sent. Sometimes if you take a long time when you click this place order to name this, it might say connection timed out, but it actually sends it when you save it. So just to give you an idea, both of them will get sent. Okay, so then you can basically close out of that. We've printed it off. Also, just to make note, if you have multiple pages you're going off of, you're needing to get parts, you can click through here and it will update that to the cart across all those parts. So you don't have to leave it on one screen and then go back and forth. It will aggregate all those together. So from here, we can look at that, how that looks in CDK. What we'll do is bring up a screen here. We'll log into CDK. And what we've done is basically save a shopping cart that we'll be able to import to a work order rec or to a parts ticket. So, for example, let's look at parts invoicing. Let's create a new parts invoice. Testing purposes here. Okay. So from here, work order rec, and this parts invoice screen going to look pretty similar. What we're going to do is we're going to click on import. Import, and then we're going to always click on this parts catalog PC file. We don't have to worry about these other ones, so make note of that, parts catalog PC file. Then you can click on the magnifying glass and our list comes up. And see both of these, test Alex 1, test Alex 2, both of those came up. So we can click on that. Typically, because we print, we're safe to do this. Depending on if you want to double check and make sure that we get everything, and so you don't have to worry about it. You can delete it now, or you can come back and delete it later through a different system screen. So typically, we've just been leaving everything in there and once a week coming back and cleaning it up. So so for right now, we'll just go ahead and click save, and that's going to bring those parts in that we put on that list. You can do multiple carts. So that was test Alex 1, and here we can click on test Alex 2, and it's going to bring those into the screen. So that kind of gives a rundown on how to import those. And that's basically how you use that cart from start to finish.